Welcome everyone! You may have heard that it's baby groundhog season. What does that mean? It means that there's a population of young, inexperienced animals that haven't learned to fear humans yet, and I plan to fully take advantage of that. It just so happens that I have a family of ground pig living under my shed. I frequently see the babies around the yard, poking their heads out from under the shed, or even molesting my woodpile. I'm going to try to exploit their inexperience to train them not to fear me. Throughout the week, I'll present them with food as well as making myself visible to show them that I'm not a threat. Hopefully by the end of the week, I'll even be able to feed them by hand. So let's get to it. At this point, I didn't really have a plan. This was the first day I noticed these thick wood badgers in my yard and wanted to share it with my family and friends. I tried to give them leftover hot dog buns, but they didn't seem very interested. However, the squirrels and crows seemed to like it. I later went to the store to get some baby carrots for these baby marmots. They seemed much more interested in these. Even the mom made an appearance, but she was much more skittish, so I left them alone for a while. Sometime during the day, they decided to abduct my plate. Interesting. I was away all day, but there was no hog activity before I left. I gave them another plate of carrots, set up the camera, positioned myself across the yard, and waited. Very soon after, the babies began to show themselves. But they didn't emerge until Big Mama decided it was safe. But as soon as I moved to take a video from my perspective, she got scared and left. The babies took this cue and did the same. But now the babies decided it was safe enough to be out there on their own. Eventually, Big Mama returned to just about finish off my plate of carrots. After carefully watching these weenusk for a day, I began to notice that each had their own personality. This one was often off on his own, doing his own thing, so I'm going to call him Maverick. This one was particularly shy and often hung around the ivy, so she shall be called Ivy. This little fella spends a lot of time at the woodpile, so he gets the name Woody Woodchuck. And that leaves one, who has no defining qualities and features. For that, she shall be called Rachel. Today I moved myself and the camera a bit closer. Unfortunately, for the majority of the day, Maverick and Ivy hung out on the side of the shed, as opposed to in front of it where they had been in the days before. I didn't see much of the rest of the Whistlepig family, though I did get a glimpse of Big Mama down in the woods, but wasn't able to video her before she got spooked and ran. Since Maverick and Ivy seemed intent on staying to the side of the shed today, I moved the plate of carrots over there. But after a careful investigation, Maverick decided the plate of carrots was not interesting. And Ivy didn't care to even investigate. I thought maybe the plate was confusing them or something, so I moved some of the carrots off the plate, but still no luck. The two Moonak then moved over to the woodpile, so I put some carrots over there. But still, very little interest. And I'm not really sure why, since they would eat carrots all the time when Big Mama was around. But then, ladies and gentlemen, we got him. Just kidding. After I finished filming yesterday, I had scattered the remaining carrots throughout the yard just in case my placements were too weird for them. But still, no interest in the carrots. So today, I'm going to try apple. I mean, who doesn't like an apple? But this apple wasn't going down without a fight. After defeating the apple in combat, I scattered its remains around the shed. It took a little while, but eventually Maverick and Ivy poked their little heads out. and quickly found the apples. But Maverick didn't seem to like them. Neither did Ivy. At this point, I'm kind of at a loss. I thought carrots and apples would be a sure thing, so I began grasping at straws and found some gently used celery and set it out for them. I put some pieces near their favorite entrances, and no luck. And then my camera overheated.
Boo.
After thoroughly convincing my camera that 9/11 was an inside job, we were back in action, only for it to overheat again a couple minutes later. But not before I got this confirmation that used celery is not appetizing. But this camera overheating gave me the opportunity to see if the camera was making the chucks uncomfortable, and after removing it, the results spoke for themselves. Today was a particularly bright and sunny day, and the Siflu were out and about much earlier than usual. I also got to see some sunbathing and some play fighting. After the performance of the carrots, apples, and secondhand celery, I ran out and bought some lettuce, which, again, the groundhogs did not like. But now, faced with delicious fresh lettuce, they decided they liked the gross carrots and the apples that had been sitting out for days. As the day went on, I started seeing them less and less, so I began to investigate. I set up the camera in different places that I'd frequently see them. The side of the shed, the wood pile, the back of the wood pile. And it really started to seem like they were trying their hardest to avoid me altogether. Maybe they were growing into their fear response regardless of my training. I was once again grasping at straws. So I went over to the woodpile and started filming there by hand. But while I was focused on Woody and Ivy, Rachel had been chowing down on an apple slice right next to me, and she really didn't seem to mind that I was standing over her. So I set up the camera and sat down. Now that the lettuce had become properly gross and wilted, Rachel decided it was worth eating. Once she finished this piece, she began looking for more, being very cautious of me. But eventually, it's gonna happen. Today I woke up to my power being out because of a thunderstorm. The stormy weather also meant that there was minimal hog activity this morning. As I was waiting, I found this 4-foot snake climbing up the bush next to the woodpile. And while I was curiously looking at the snake, Rachel was curiously looking at me. So now that a hog had been sighted, I set up to try and see if she would eat from my hand. One by one, she ate the lettuce pieces, occasionally getting spooked back to the shed. Then there was only one piece left. After one whole week, 2 sunburns, and hundreds of gigabytes of groundhog footage, I finally had one close enough to eat out of my hand. If you want more content like this, leave a like and subscribe. If you want to support the channel even more, you can support me on Patreon, link in description.